gear up. We really had to cut short a little. Now we are starting with our technical session 3 for the day. And the topic would be education in valuation, paradigm shift. We have our keynote speaker and chairman for the session. Is none other than the director for Lead Institute of Real Estate Studies, Lee Business School, University of Nevada, Las Vegas, Dr. Vivek Shah. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to introduce Dr. Shah here. Dr. Shah is the director of the Lead Institute of Real Estate Studies in the Lee Business School at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. He teaches undergraduate and graduate courses in real estate finances, commercial real estate investment, real estate valuation, and real estate market analysis. Please join me welcoming Dr. Vivek Shah in the dais as the keynote speaker and the chairman of the session. Thank you, sir. I would now like to invite on stage for the panel discussion our moderator, Mr. Sunil Agarwal. He is the founder of Black Olive Ventures. Mr. Sunil has over 23 years of experience in the real estate sector and is the founder of Black Olive Ventures, a real estate valuation and advisory services company. Mr. Sunil has expertise in real estate sector across various geographies, asset classes, and functional domains including real estate development, funds management and advisory valuation, transaction, corporate real estate, and education. Ladies and gentlemen, our moderator for the panel discussion, Mr. Sunil Agarwal on the stage. All right, and in the panel, we have, first and foremost, Mrs. Vandana Agarwal, and she is an electronics and telecom engineer holding master degrees in management and valuation in real estate, a gold medalist. She is a practicing valuer since 20 years and is known for her work and commitment towards the field across valuation fraternity in India. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you, Mrs. Vandana Agarwal. Now I would like to invite on stage Dr. M. Arul, the director, Annamalai University. Dr. Arul graduated from Bharati Dasan University and completed his MBA from Annamalai University in the year 1990. He has published articles in many reputed national and international journals and conferences. He served as training and placement officer in the Faculty of Arts from 2014 to 2017 and has got placements for hundreds of students every year. Dr. Arul. And we have next as a panelist, the ex-professor, School of Planning and Architecture, Dr. Neelima Risbud. And she retired from the School of Planning and Architecture as Professor of Housing in 2014. She did her PhD in Housing from Schooling in Planning and Architecture, New Delhi. She taught in Housing Department of SPA for 38 years and held various positions of HOD, Housing Dean and SPA for several years. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you, Dr. Neelima Risbud. And the last member in the panel we have is Mr. Nitin Lele, the registered valuer. Mr. Lele is a full-time practicing valuer registered under Wealth Tax Act, Black Money Act, and Companies Act, and he has over 37 years of experience of civil engineering and property market. He is National Council member of IOV and Director of IOV RVF. So this is, of course, the entire team who's there in the dais. Thank you. And now, to say a few words and, of course, deliver his address, I would request Dr. Vivek Shah, the Director, Lead Institute of Real Estate Studies, Lee Business School, University of Nevada, to come forward to the dais and deliver his address. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to thank IOV, especially Sunil Agarwal and Mr. Goyal for inviting me to be the keynote speaker on the education panel. And also congratulate and commend the organizing committee to have an education panel in real estate. As an academic export of the Indian community to the US, I've been looking at the real estate market in India grow over the last 15, 20 years exponentially. However, the growth has not been matched by education infrastructure and curriculum that we see in our classrooms. So having a session on education in such a big platform is really commendable. So the focus of my presentation is going to be on the education aspect of real estate with a little bit focus on valuation. So I'm going to start by talking about the US system on valuation and on the education aspect. Then we'll talk about focusing purely on the education and valuation, what aspects of education fall into the valuation category, and then that might lead us to the panel discussion. So let's contrast a little bit on how the two countries stack on terms of education. In the US, we have at least 50 plus universities that are offering the real estate major and minor. Most of this is in the business school. As I've been hearing the various panels before me and the opening session, I've heard the word accountant, engineers, and all that being repeated. However, there's a big difference in the US system and the system over here because most of the real estate focused programs, almost 90% of them are in the business school. So anybody who is a valuer or what we call as an appraiser there has a business degree. It may not be in real estate, but most of them do come out of the business school either with a finance degree or a degree in business administration. So there's that aspect which is a little bit different. There are at least 25 universities that offer a specialized master or an MBA concentration. Real estate valuation is a finance elective as well. In our program at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, we have the valuation class that is offered as a finance elective, and we almost have a full class taking that elective, which is the case pretty much across all the universities in the US. And of course, there are numerous certificate programs. These are not degree programs, these are certificate programs, these are short-term programs basically for learning, basically for people who have experience but don't have the time commitment to get into, to go back to school. If you contrast that to the Indian market, as I'm aware of only 3 institutions offering real estate education, but those as well do not offer valuation courses. And of course, needless to say, no business school in top 20 here offers any sort of real estate course. Forget about valuation, which is so specialized. So that's just a bit of contrast in the education aspect of real estate between the two countries. And the gap, of course. So now let me talk a little bit about the appraisal as a career there and what kind of licenses are offered. I know a lot of you probably know about it, but just to kind of refresh. So the Financial Institution Reform and Recovery Act in 1989 led to a state license or certified appraiser. These are the licenses that are awarded by the state agencies. So valuation is a state subject over there, although it's governed by a federal agency. So starting January 1st, 1993, all kind of valuation had to be through certified licenses or licensed individuals. The Appraisal Foundation, which is the federal agency that governs the appraisal discipline, there you have the Appraisals Qualification Board and the Appraisal Standard Board. The Appraisals Qualification Board sets the minimum requirement for appraisal licensing and certification. So basically what qualifications drive the industry. And the Appraisal Standards Board defines appraisals and appraisal terms and sets minimum requirements for appraisal reports. So what do we mean by that? So basically in the US we have 4 type of licenses that are given out to appraisers to do appraisal. So you have the trainee license, which basically doesn't mean much. Then you have the residential license, which limits your transaction to only $250,000 on residential and up to $1 million on non-complex 1 to 4 units. So that's the basic level of license that is awarded to somebody who just starts out in that industry. Then you have the certified residential license, and again here you have on the bottom you have those requirements, but again here you can do commercial property, but only up to $250,000, which as you know is probably nothing. So moving from one to another gives you a little bit of flexibility, but not much in terms of commercial valuation. The way we define commercial is anything that is income producing. Residential is anything that is either for owning purposes, where you're the owner occupied. And the last one, which is the highest level, is the certified general license. So there are no restrictions over there. So you can do any kind of real estate, including federal properties. But to get from the trainee license to the certified general license, it typically takes a lot of many years and experience. But once you get to that, you are at the highest level. Now, in terms of college requirements for the appraiser, starting January 1st of 2015, till January 2015, you will be surprised to know that there were no college requirements. So basically, an appraiser could get an associate degree or not even have a college degree, but could be an appraiser. But that actually changed in 2015, and then onwards, you had to have a college degree. So they made that a strict requirement for anybody to pursue the appraiser track. So these are certain requirements. And then when we talk about education, I'll elaborate in terms of how the education or how the degree helps you get that license. So the education in valuation can be divided into 3 broad categories. You have university collaboration, you have research, and you have professional education. And as I was researching about these 3 topics in the Indian context, I did find that in some form of other, there is something happening over here, although the form and structure was not as robust, so to say, as we have in the US. So let's look at these individual categories and see how education in valuation is impacted. So I talked about how the 3 or 4 licenses are awarded. In the US, in the last decade or so, there's been a big push towards a designation. Now, what is a designation? A designation is a unique credential that is awarded to an individual, but it is awarded to a trade organization. In the US, the trade organization, the most dominant one happens to be the Appraisal Institute, which is pretty much all across the country. It has very high standards, and it also has university tie-ups. So basically, this designation is a lot of work, but once you get that designation, it's called the MAI designation by the Appraisal Institute, you are a cut above other appraisers and may help you get especially the coveted jobs, the high-valued appraisals as compared to your competition. The way the university system works in the US is most of the universities have a tie-up with the Appraisal Institute to fast-track the MAI designation. So what it basically means is if you are in one of these programs that are affiliated with the Appraisal Institute, you will not only be able to fast track your MAI designation, but will also be able to qualify or waive off some of the course requirements, because these courses are part of the same curriculum as an MAI designation would get from the Appraisal Institute. So what it does is it incentivizes anybody who's pursuing a master's degree to kind of get to these designation on a faster track, and also gives them incentive to take to pursue a master's degree in some of these universities. Some of the other advantages for the MAI designation, if you are in the master's program on the fast track, you get credit for the coursework, which I just mentioned. There's no member annual fee, discounts on education publication. You have affiliation with the local chapter that gives you network opportunities with other appraisers in the community. And of course, you have access to the Appraisal Institute's library and research services, which is a very vast database. Now, what are the university initiatives when it comes to real estate valuation, education there? Today morning, when I was interacting with some of the participants at this conference, somebody asked me this question: how closely do you work, or do you work with the real estate industry over there? And I looked at that person as if that question was a shock to me. And the reason for that is, in the US, most of the programs that I know of are very, very closely integrated with the industry. They have a very close nexus, which means that the industry participates in the mentorship programs. What a mentorship program, as an example, we have at our university is a 2 or 3 month semester program, or 2 to 3 months in a semester program, where you would be paired with an industry mentor, and that person could be from the appraisal industry, and you get to meet them on a regular basis and know them more and about the industry, and then maybe decide whether you like that industry or not. So most of the programs have a mentorship program. Most of the universities have a mentorship program embedded into the curriculum. Then we have for-credit internships. Basically, these are semester-long. The internships serve as an elective towards your major, be it the real estate major or be it a business major, which means that you not only get the experience, but you also get to use that for your credit towards your major, and you don't have to take the 3 units somewhere else. And students take those internships pretty enthusiastically, and they gain a lot. What it also does is they create that network, but they also get the experience while they're still at school. There's some statistics out there that says that 95% of the students who have done an internship get a job in the industry that they intern within 6 months of graduation, which I feel is a great benefit. And lastly, we have Appraisal Institute affiliated instructors that educate appraisers and valuers, and a lot of these instructors come out of the universities. And I'm not sure if Norm was one of the Appraisal Institute's instructor, but there are a lot of the university professors that are actually AI affiliated instructors that go out and do continuing education or these kind of courses for the appraisal industry. Just to get you an idea about the undergraduate programs, what kind of classes we offer in the undergraduate and graduate programs. Some of the classes that we offer are related to valuation, real estate market analysis, real estate investment analysis, and real estate valuation. In some of the large real estate programs, such as Georgia State, they also had 2 different classes, because the classes they had over 300 majors and minors in real estate. In the undergraduate program, they had a residential valuation course and a commercial valuation course. So it was fairly specialized within valuation as well. And the graduate level programs, which we call the Masters of Science Real Estate programs, some of the courses that you can see, and the ones that are kind of bold and highlighted, count towards the MAI designation, or most of them do. So real estate development, real estate valuation, capital markets, real estate market analysis. Now, some of the courses, as you can see, have the same name. And the big difference between the undergraduate programs and graduate programs in the US is that the undergraduate programs are largely driven by theory, But the graduate programs tend to be driven by probably 10 to 20% theory, but a lot of that 80% applied work because they've already got the theory when they were probably taking an undergraduate course. So that's a big difference. The courses are similar, but the way these courses are implemented or in the classroom is very, very different. It's very, very practical, so to say, in the graduate programs, which makes sense. This is, again, a snapshot of the valuation class that I teach in my undergraduate program. As you can see, we kind of touch on all aspects of real estate because a valuer has to do different kind of valuation from an airport hangar to a hotel to a multifamily or apartment to portfolio. So they need to understand all aspects of the real estate business. Capital markets, time value of money and statistics. And of course, the new ones in the last few years, we've added automated valuation models in terms of the curriculum to give them an idea about what's the next wave of appraisals going to look like. In terms of research, again, it's pretty different. The research is largely very, very collaborative in terms of what the industry wants and what the academics want. I have a couple of papers that I have co-authored with Norm Miller that have looked at property condition, how that affects valuation. We've also looked at how seasonality in home prices affect different markets. And we've got great response from the industry. They have reached out many times to us to see how these papers have affected the individual work. And these tend to be published in an appraisal journal, which I believe the IOV also has, something similar, which is basically the publication aspect of research. So like I said, it's industry focused, but it is rigorous. The industry focus is based on the application of it, how practical it is. It's rigorous because it has academics working on it with modern statistical tools. So it's the best of both worlds in terms of the output that they get. And of course, market anomalies, distortions using scientific and statistical tools. I'll give you an example. In 2006, which was close just to a year after I moved to the US to get my graduate degree, Hurricane Katrina affected the south part, which was predominantly New Orleans, the state of Louisiana. Now, because of that, what happened was the entire market of single-family homes were destroyed. Now, we know that housing appraisal is largely dependent on your sample. That means if you do not have a sale, the sales comparison approach does not work. So when the entire market was destroyed, you don't have any sales because there were no sales happening. So in those cases, the collaboration between industry and academia is very, very pronounced because the academic can come up with innovative solutions and use statistical tools that may or may not be available to the industry. And that's a great example. And there might be many more examples here as well. And then the industry, the Appraisal Institute and other trade organizations and also private institutions provide sponsored research, which means they provide their dollars, money, funding for time-relevant issues, time-relevant topics to be analyzed by academics. So basically, there's a proposal that is solicited through the academic channels to the academic world, where a trade organization like Appraisal Institute or a particular private entity might give an incentive for the academics to work on a problem that they may be facing. So usually these awards are between $10,000 to $20,000, per proposal, and that gives the incentive for the academics to work on these, and at the same time, the companies or the Appraisal Institute gets an innovative solution out of these proposals, and these are very, very competitive. You have to apply for them. So that's the kind of collaborative research that which we do in the US. And of course, the publications, like I mentioned, these are practitioner-focused, allows for market-related changes to be incorporated into theory and disseminated information across members. I just mentioned about impact of natural catastrophes into valuation. The two big journals out of the Appraisal Institute are Appraisal Journal and the Valuation magazine. And I believe that I did get a copy of some of the journals that IOV has, which I think is a great thing. But what would be even much more better would be to see that collaboration with from the industry side pouring into academia. And then professional education, which is basically what we call as, continuing education, but basically for professionals, because they need to update and upgrade their skill set. It's usually through Appraisal Institute. It's local university sponsored. My university has courses that cater to the demands for the professional education needs. We recently did a course on, I recently taught a course on real estate market analysis for the industry, and we had a very varied group in the audience. And there were two big events that have now shifted the professional education more on the ethics side. One was the SNL crisis, which was the savings and loan crisis of the 1980s, where these banks were giving out loans for commercial investments, but they were largely driven by tax breaks. And the other one was the great financial crisis of 2008 and 2009, and we know how the appraisers were biasing their appraisal upwards to satisfy the lenders. Because of those two big events, especially the most recent one, the appraisal industry has shifted towards focusing very high focus on ethics, and a lot of these continuing education courses tend to be ethic focused, because now they want the appraisals to not have any bias, as well as not put the mortgage industry into the same trouble that they had in 2008, 2009. Now, what does that mean, educating the future appraiser? So this is, I took the liberty of coming up with, I would say, a roadmap. So what you would do is, the first step would be identify a few pilot regional universities. And again, I say regional because you may have north, south, east, west, central. Identify one from each, 4 to 5 of these. You form a working group on university programs, which would have an IOV rep or reps. You would have academic consultants from the academia, which would advise you on how to implement those curriculum at the university level. And of course, a suggestion would be to tie up with an organization, a global organization like Appraisal Institute, who would probably give their experience, provide the feedback on terms of how they have kind of collaborated with the university system in the US and implemented their designation. And that could be a good mix of people into that working group. And the last one would be implementation, would be to embed the curriculum in the pilot university to grant valuation license right over there and designation. And this would give incentive to students to take these courses and to go to these universities and pursue these programs in real estate and come out as trained appraisers, rather than getting into the industry and then constantly update themselves and learn on the go, so to say. And so that's all. I think we can provide this as a framework for our discussion, and I know that Sunil has some more questions to ask. But thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to hear the views from the panel.
Thank you, Vivek. I think we have a fantastic panel here this evening to discuss education and valuation. Just to let you know, Professor Vivek Shah is also from the industry. So he used to work with ICICI and then subsequently went abroad and did his master's, and then he's now a professor. One thing I learned when I went to Vivek in San Diego was, and that is a question which has a prize question, that if in the audience you can guess which asset class, ladies and gentlemen, made the maximum money for investors in the US for a period of time. Anybody? Is it office? Is it residential? What kind of asset class? Real property has so many other asset classes. Price question. Commercial property, no. IT, no. No residential, no office, no IT. No housing, residential housing, how do you distinguish? Okay, just to cut the discussion short, I'll save the prize. it was jails. Okay? So that gives you the diversity of asset classes that are valued. So you heard Vivek say we used to value airport hangars, and therefore you have a lot more asset classes. And I think what Vivek's presentation has done is opened some bit of thinking that it is not about commercial, residential, it is a lot more asset classes, it is a lot more multidisciplinary than engineering, accountants. When I was talking to Vivek, it was just 1 or 2% of engineers stroke accountants from the valuation community, which is the global community. So anyway, let's go back to the panel. We have a mix of academicians, we have industry practitioners, and we have somebody like Vivek who's at the cusp of both. So let me start this conversation by coming to the most senior lady on the dais, Ms. Neelima Risbud. You've been an educationist, and I've had the fortune of teaching at SPA, courtesy Neelima ma'am, and I said I can't devote time, I need to take my classes at 6 o'clock in the morning, and she said, yes, you can come in and my students will be there. So in a dynamic institute like that, how did you miss, and why did this institute not have a valuation course all the while?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. School of Planning and Architecture is come a long way in last 60 years. And it has diversified, it has grown in its stature also. Now it is under the Act of Parliament, so it's an Institute of National Imports. And now we have about 10 postgraduate courses and 2 undergraduate courses in planning and architecture. So that speaks a lot that we have been diversifying into various fields. The field of urban development is growing so fast and changing so dynamically, especially in last 15 years. Ever since the liberalization, you find that private sector has set in. And with that, the market is growing. And it's likely to grow much more. By 2030, it's expected that the population will almost double. The urban population will almost double, which means more cities, bigger cities, and bigger markets, and bigger land market, and more complex land market. So planning had to respond to this, and we have been changing. Our syllabus has been changing, and one of the reasons why we could do this was the autonomy we enjoyed. And the question you asked about valuation, we couldn't really directly include valuation as such, but real estate as a subject we have definitely included. And in our projects, most of our teaching is based on theory and projects. So we take a live project, and on the project we teach a lot of things. So there comes a part of the study of the micro market and the valuation and the prices and affordability and things like that. So we have been changing, and I made an attempt to introduce this. But the knowledge is growing so fast that how do you accommodate in 2 years everything that you need the student to know? And so therefore we had in fact thought of starting the real estate course, postgraduate course in infrastructure, urban infrastructure planning. So these were the 2 courses we had in mind. And I think it's a very important occasion. The reason I agreed to Sunil's request was that I think there's a need for interface between valuation, especially land and buildings, and the town planning, which is not formally very much recognized. And we need to really strengthen these bonds, because in times to come, town planning and town planning regulations and land markets and government policies are also going to change very fast. We recently had a 2018 urban policy framework, national urban policy framework, which says that you are going to have basic FARs and floating FARs and purchasable FARs, and you have to have valuation every 2 years of the land of all the urban cities. Now we have GIS mapping, and the master plans are being prepared on that.
So you said, ma'am, valuation of all the lands of the cities every 2 years?
That's what it says. I don't know how it's going to take place.
So that's going to open a lot of business for everyone in the room.
Yeah. I think that's why I said, there is a need for an interface. But, the system of getting into the formal system is quite a long. You have to go through various boards, various approvals, and we need to sensitize our own colleagues to agree to that, which is not very easy. So we have been always a design profession. We have been always an environmental friendly profession. So market getting into it.
Is some sort of a sin that you guys will do?
Yeah, somewhat, there was a resistance. There is a resistance. But increasingly our students are getting absorbed in the real estate market.
Yeah, so students will decide now how the school will teach, right?
Yeah. So I think I've been getting personally, And currently I've been talking to the president of the Institute of Town Planners, India's Institute of Town Planners, and I had a conversation informal, and he agreed with me, and he said that we should be actually including this in the institute's
It's very
examination.
surprising. You know, Institute of Town Planners, I did a thesis on property tax. It threw me out, said you were nominated by the school for the best thesis award, you don't deserve it. So anyway, coming back to Dr. Arul, your university has been giving valuation courses since last 10, 15 years, and you've taken the lead now to do a plant and machinery valuation. What's been the thought process there? I mean, you saw one thought process where there is a willingness, however, there is very little, follow from the team. But what was very different in your universities?
You know that Annamalai University is a pioneer. It's a 90 years old university. We are celebrating the 90th year functions this year. And earlier, engineering students, they used to study valuation as a subject, especially civil engineering students. But slowly, they find it difficult for valuing everything. So we started a diploma course in valuation. And we got a very good response. Many students joined. And then there was a representation from the students that only Sardar Patel University is offering a course, full-time course. And as a practicing valuers, we are not able to attend full-time course. So why not you start a course in distance? That is why we started real estate valuation in 2010. And we had a tremendous response. Then we went for plant and machinery, and we are continuing to get the support of many valuers.
I'm also a student of your university.
Thank you. I think, from morning, I'm facing a lot of people who have completed MSc and real estate valuation as well as alumni.
Yeah, so when Vivek said how many universities actually offer valuation courses, I said, I know only 3. And that's when, the ball was ticking by. We have only 3 universities. Coming back to the industry professionals, yes, as teachers, as academicians, you have a course, you design, you teach. What are the challenges you face now, Vandana, coming to you, and then Mr. Lele, you can follow. Is the challenge that you face when you recruit a fresher and he comes into your shop and knows nothing, or he knows things which you don't, want him to know, you want to know him, you want him to know a lot of other things. So what are the challenges that you face, and what is your expectation from academia from an industry practicing professional perspective?
Recruitment as it is a problem all over the world. Getting good candidates for work. Nowadays, every youth want fast money. So getting experience is not their priority. They simply want such a thing which makes them earn faster. As far as valuation is concerned, as this is not very well known and honored in the society, education as it is for valuers is less, and if we go for the junior level or this fresher level, it is very poor condition. Students are not there. Either, as we said in the earlier sessions, either engineers are there or business students are there. So when we want them to get work done for the valuation, we need to tell and teach them all the other aspects of the valuation, legal, social, economics. So that becomes a big problem, and creating interest in them for the subject is a challenge.
So I think interest is a challenge. Everybody wants to make, fast money.
Yes.
And the fact is that valuation is not about only engineering and not only about accounting. It has a lot of other things which I think people learn over a period of time. Mr. Lele, now our profession has a lot of threats. And, one threat is what Vandana said, don't find people. But there are a lot of other challenges. So what are the challenges that in your eyes should be thought through?
Am I audible? Am I audible? See, her point of view was very much different from what I interpret from the market. I see at the present and in the future, few challenges. Since morning we are listening the technology. Suppose that technology really takes over the valuation field. The bankers will simply, on screen, they will check the rate and they will issue the loans. So, this is a big threat of technology,
So no
and which
education.
will lead them to the wronger direction, I can say. Good. Because the feed, there is some input, then there is some process, and then there is some output. So if the inputs are wrong, sitting in the chair of a bank manager, then output is going to be wrong. So how to overcome this technological aspect is a big challenge.
तो बैंकर तो वैसे भी गलत ही डिसीजन लेते हैं, आप सही बताते हो तो भी. No offense meant to any banker in the audience, sorry. Yeah.
So it may be good for valuers. So once bankers start giving wrong things, then the value of the valuers will rise. Then second threat is client. वो घोड़े पे बैठ के ही आते. They come that tomorrow or yesterday we want the report. So technology may fulfill their requirement, but the client's requirement are going to change day by day. I will come to that in a detailed perspective later on. Third threat is internationalization. Now, fourth is this, mobile. They will ask immediately valuation report. So internationalization, that is a threat because these models will come from US, Australia, England and all. And the conditions there and conditions in India are very much different. So this will not be helpful in Indian perspective, but we have a broader perspective. In England or Australia, I don't think there are going to be the farmhouses or village herds or cow sheds to be valued, which we do in India. They only see the capital market, big industries. But what about a small person, a farmer? They also need a loan. So in that perspective, I don't know how much these models will cope up. Then fourth threat is to solo valuers. Now we say that you come in the group, you form a company, and companies are going to take over this valuation profession in the future. But I don't agree with that. Because companies should have individuals who can give the correct input and correct data. But those who are trying to remain out of system, they are not appearing. Now, whether you like it or not, this IBBI is going to be the compulsory process. So whether you like it or not, you have to pass that examination. But these companies will need experts like you to process the data, to feed the data. So the value of the solo valuers is not going to vanish. Then fifth threat is cost to service. Now everybody is worried, mera fees kitna hoga? How much will I get? But now in future, I can tell you, the client's requirement are going to change. When elections come, you can see everybody runs to a horoscope reader. So one who can tell about the future, valuation we consider as present and past, but not as a future. Future we call as estimate. But if valuers now start predicting the future, they will earn. And there is a scope for valuers to earn the money.
मतलब ज्योतिष भी होनी चाहिए
ज्योतिषी होना चाहिए.
एक करिकुलम के अंदर.
Yeah, बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
Vivek, agree to that?
See,
In US?
like in share market, when we buy a share, we feel that this is the lowest price and the share will not fall below this. And there is a seller, surprisingly, who feels that this is the highest price and he sells the share. And immediately next day, your eyes open when the share comes further down. So, ज्योतिषी को बहुत पैसा है ये लाइन में. One who can predict the property market or any market. 5 साल, if I invest in this property, what will be the result after 5 years?
बैंकर का वैल्यूएशन भेज दो सर, नहीं तो बार बार भूस
ये
लगेगा.
2 केसेस मेरे चले गए. And last but not the least is a decreasing number of valuers all over the world. Because one generation is now on the verge of retirement. We can say the active age of 65 to 70. But one generation is retiring and new entrants are very less. So that is one of the biggest threat to this valuer fraternity.
Okay, so a lot of challenges. Lele साहब ने बोला. I think he hit the pulse of the audience as well. So thank you, sir. A quick observation that I have, and then I'll turn to Vivek for challenges that exist in his markets. One is when I was in 90s as a student, किसी ने कहा कि अब तो teleconference हो जाएगा, and because of that, globally the shares of airline companies crashed because लोगों का हवाई जहाज में कौन यात्रा करेगा. The fact is we are traveling more, we are using that airline much more. Everybody in 95 versus today, the airline industry is there. Similarly, there is a technological threat that came by these retailers, Amazon, etc. But you had other retailers, and I think now there's a realization that some people will be part of Amazon, but yes, there is still merit in going to a shop. And if you read papers a couple of days back, the pricing and the offline stores have come almost at par with the online. So, this technology as a threat will happen. Maybe some parts of the valuation business will go away, but there are a lot of other parts in the valuation that will still stay alive, because you need to realize that technology has its own limitations. And I think let's use technology to fasten our processes and systems. Automated valuations in this country, I think, are 10 years away, 20 years away, because the data itself is not homogeneous. So you will probably use technology only to correct your processes rather than, this threat of businesses being wiped off overnight. I don't think so that will exist. But anyway, Vivek, what are the challenges in your market? I mean, you said, I was very surprised that even a couple of years ago in the US, you did not have any degree to have, and you could still be a valuer. At least in this country, you had to have one degree, which is engineering or something. So, when technologies come, is this some kind of a fear in the US, or, appraisers are moving from one asset class to the other? What are the challenges in those markets, and how do you address them, and what's the thinking there?
Well, the biggest challenge, of course, is, we've been talking about automated valuation models in the US for a long time. And it's, at the end of the day, it's GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So any model is as good as the data. And once the data is robust, then the precision of these models go up. And the ability to predict the value is coming close to 95%, as Norm had shown. If you look at those, the explanatory power of those models were close to 95%. So the threat of technology is there, but there are valuers who are kind of what we call are adapting to that. And just like retailers have adapted to online retailing, so what they call as omni-channels. So what, let's say, a department store is doing is buying online and delivering at home, buying online, picking at store, buying at store and delivering at home, and buying at the store and picking at store. So these are called omni-channels. So they have adapted to the technology. So same thing will happen to any industry, and valuation is no different. So people are going to adapt. The ones that adapt will be the ones that will survive. And the ones that do not adapt and feel that the change is very far will perish. So technology will impact all aspects of real estate, including valuation. So that's one aspect that we have seen impacting the valuation industry there. And the other thing that we have seen, and we are actually doing, we are educating our students in our classroom for that change. So we teach the valuation. So the solution to this is not to run away. The solution is to adapt, to face it, and see how you can improvise. So I make sure that our curriculum in valuation, we talk about these models and see how students learn these and use data to incorporate into these models. And the last thing I'm going to talk about how some things have changed is, as I was mentioned, was role of ethics. Now, the great financial crisis, which nobody had predicted in the whole world, which was called as a black swan event, happens once in a while. It kind of changed, was a permanent shock to the industry. And what it did was made the industry more robust, because now we will not have the same issue where valuers were coming in and what we call as feedback bias and providing high valuations just to satisfy the banks to get repeat business. Now that system has gone, because of that shock in the market, the regulatory bodies cracked down, and now the valuers are actually coming down with lower valuation than what the sale price is. So it's the other problem we are having, which I feel is a good problem, because now the system is more robust to this kind of shock, and the lenders are not over-lending.
So valuers have not gone away with technology. In fact, their role has in some significant way changed, but over a period of time, you think that community still is vibrant, existing, kicking. That's why you have so many students in the college.
Yeah, so today I was interacting with somebody, and they were asking about how these AVMs have been implemented in the market. So Fannie Mae, which is one of the large governing bodies, not governing, but basically they buy these loan portfolios from these banks. What they have done, they last year implemented a pilot program in some markets where they were able to take the AVMs and use them for giving out loans. Now, what they did was, in some of these, what it helped is, of course, it helped the consumer, because now they were, instead of paying $500, they were paying only $5. It also cut down the transaction time of the entire buying process from 2 months to 1 month, because now the appraisal came in within minutes. Now, the pilot program was successful. However, it will never be mass implemented. So what it means is, for what they call over there as jumbo loans, which is typically $470,000 or more, you will never have an AVM, because the risk is higher, because there's less liquidity, and you have less liquidity, that means you have less transactions. Less transaction means you have less data. So anytime it's a jumbo loan, the lender will never go for an AVM. So the AVMs will be there, but it will be for loans that are less than $450,000, and not for all markets, because some markets are more riskier than others. Smaller markets will never have AVMs because they have the what we call as idiosyncratic risk. Larger markets, which are more predictable, where there is a lot of data, they will have the AVMs, and then AVMs will only be for lower transaction value than higher transaction. So it will be a hybrid structure where there will be AVMs, but there will also be need for valuers who go in on site to value physically for loans that are above certain numbers, as well as in certain other markets.
So I think the good news is that technology will come, but we still will be alive. I mean, why I chose real estate as a career, or plant and machinery guys are in business, is because not everything can be solved by technology. There has to be a look and feel, and I think that will not go away. That's good news. Now, so there'll be business for you, Dr. Selvam. I'm sure, ma'am, in your future of the Arul schools, you will have a lot of students studying valuations. I have one question regarding the need of the India today, and that's the next theme of the discussion. One is that there are existing fraternity of valuers. We all in the room have been doing business for 10, 20, 30 years. And then there is this new valuation professionals who, because of the regulation, will look at valuation as a career. And I think the need of education between these two groups is very different. The groups that are already in the profession versus the one who will look at this profession as a career. So, anybody in the panel can take it up. You know, it could be Mr. Lele, you seem to have the pulse, or, you know, Dr. Selvam, anybody. What do you think should be the structure for, let's say, people who are already existing valuers? And then we will come to what can be the structure possibly going forward for the new entrants who will possibly look upon valuation as a career. So let me, okay, Lele Saab.
Hello. If you ask my personal opinion,
IOV का opinion नहीं, आपका personally चाहिए. Don't look at Mr. Goyal at all.
Two types of opinion. When Vinay is out, I have one opinion. When Vinay is in, I have got another opinion. But he's in.
नहीं सर, उनको मत देखिए ना, आप मेरे को देख के बात करिए.
Okay. I have got my opinion is this field is not a piece of cake of fresher. It definitely needs experience. Somebody fresher coming out from the college and telling the bank, 10 lakh ka loan de do, 1 crore ka loan de do. So that not mistake of that poor chap, but inexperience of him if he goes wrong. So in valuation field especially, there are many things, tangibles, intangibles, then you need severance and injurious affections. Lease properties are there. Then what are the conditions of the lease? What is lessee's interest? What is lessor's interest? One more area is rate of interest. What is the capitalization factor? So it's not easy for a new entrant to learn all these or implement all in the process. So it needs experience.
So we'll come back.
Audience, at the end, we'll take up your opinions.
So we have about 20 minutes now to wrap up, with
Yeah.
10 minutes
So-
at least to audience. So
Yeah.
let's quickly make a point and move on.
So I think earlier in the Wealth Tax Act, they said 10 years of experience. Now, if somebody is choosing valuation as a career, then at least he needs 5 years of
नहीं,
experience.
सर पॉइंट
That's
टेकन,
what.
मतलब 5 साल 10 साल एक्सपीरियंस होना चाहिए. बट आज जो एग्जिस्टिंग वैल्यूएशन कम्युनिटी है उसके लिए हम कह रहे हैं इंस्टीट्यूशन इज बीइंग बिल्ड, सो दे आल्सो नीड ट्रेनिंग और यू नो व्हाट काइंड ऑफ दैट थिंग. सो डॉक्टर सेल्वम, यू कैन टेक दैट एंड देन वी कैन कम बैक टू यू, लेले साहब, और यू वांट टू टेक इट, बट बी ब्रीफ सर.
No,
30 seconds.
The thing is, we always define valuation is art and science. So once you know the science, then you can be the artist. Because for learning music, you should know sa re ga ma pa dha ni sa. Then for singing ragas, you have to be selective. So science is like learning music.
साइंस तो एवीएम भी कर लेता है, मतलब हमें आर्ट चाहिए उसकी सीखने.
आर्ट के लिए
Experience चाहिए.
आपको एक्सपीरियंस चाहिए एंड मिनिमम ट्रेनिंग ऑफ साइंस जो आर्टिस्ट है उनको भी चाहिए.
उनको भी चाहिए. डॉक्टर सेल्वम, डॉक्टर अरुल, सॉरी.
Actually, those who are practicing people, I think they can undergo some courses, maybe a certificate course or a program like training program, etc. But a new fresher, as he said, minimum 3 to 5 years, he should work in the field with some already registered or working valuers. Only then he can learn. And he can experience. Out of experience, even if a course is offered, it should be a practical oriented course.
Rather
They should
than a
do some
theoretical
intern.
course.
They should do some intern under a practicing valuer and he should get a certificate from them. Only
So like
then
a chartered
maybe,
accountant or a lawyer,
Yeah, yeah.
somebody
So
in that
similarly,
profession.
yeah.
Vandana, coming to you, I mean, there is a view that if you have a fresher, see, you're not allowed to sign a report if you have a license. Whereas internationally, you have firms that have individuals who may have a license, but they sign as firms. So if a fresher comes out of the college and he says, sorry, I can't sign a report, or if I have a license, I have to be necessarily independent, will that really encourage somebody to look at this profession? I mean, or what's your view on this?
A fresher signing the report.
Not a fresher signing a report. A person who has a license needs to be independent. And therefore, it necessarily means that it's like a doctor who has a degree. If he works for a Fortis, he can't do an operation. But he can be sitting outside Fortis hospital and then he's allowed to do it. So this is what the law says. It's borrowed from chartered accountancy. Now, that is not a very encouraging thought to me for a fresher. He would want to come, he would want to have education, he would want to work for 5-10 years, and then obviously he can continue to either work or do his independent practice.
For that period, he can be allowed to practice both ways.
Right.
And up to certain limits of the financials.
Right.
So not any amount of figure he can sign or he can practice for.
So pretty much what
Vivek said. It can be a
said.
mix of these two. By the time he attains a particular level of knowledge, or he chooses what should I do. If he practices good and attains a particular requirement of education and knowledge, then he should choose either of the two, either practice, self-practice, or a mix of these two, and then he can work.
Ms. Risbud, I mean, given the fact that you sort of have evolved the courses over a period of time, what do you think should be the route for a practical-oriented course such as valuation? Like architecture, there's a theory, there's a practice, and then you have an architect that really emerges after a while. What's your view on this?
It's like an architect, you need basic knowledge through a degree or some kind of education, which involves not only the theory, but also project-based teaching. And after that, you need some experience. And that experience can start with small houses. Most of our graduates, they'll start building a small house and then gradually go into a bigger and bigger and bigger projects. So it doesn't happen that, somebody who's a fresher will get a big project and he'll mess it up. So I think it has to gradually, because town planning or architecture, I think experience is equally important.
Right.
So most of our students would work with some firm, gather some experience, and then start on their own. So I think theory, project-based teaching, and experience, all three are required.
To make the profession go up and interesting.
To make it mature and to make it, because you require mature decisions which involve finances. So you just can't really allow it to be based on theoretical knowledge. You require the knowledge of the place also. So I think all these.
Now, very quickly, before we go up to the audience for questions, what will each one of you do individually to help the cause of education? यहाँ पे आप आए हो, डायस पे बैठे हो, सब आपको देख रहे हैं, तो आप जो है individually, what as a professional would you contribute, or what do you think the fraternity sitting here should contribute towards education? We all have tremendous experience, we have a lot of knowledge. So what is it that Arul Sahab, aap kya karoge? What is it that you would do?
Actually, we are planning to introduce undergraduate program also in valuation.
Full-time?
Huh?
Full-time course?
Yeah, full-time course with the support of our alumni who have completed MSc Real Estate Valuation and Plant and Machinery. Because they should be taking them as intern and they should be providing them the technical knowledge. And the problem is UGC, AICT, all these bodies, they are saying that you are supposed to run the course within the Tamil Nadu. But the students in Tamil Nadu, we don't find much interested students. Very few are interested in this field because, valuation as a career, they should have interest in various subjects like maths, economics, law, management.
So basically the regulation may not coming in your way, you still intend to go for a full-time course.
Yeah, we are.
I think we should all give him a little bit of a clap. I think it's very imperative that there is a certain amount of full-time course that comes in. So great, and I think ourselves in IOV and Vinay ji सामने हैं, तो ये AICT और ये जो पंगा है UGC का कहीं ना कहीं we need to build in a little bit of a regulation that they are kept away.
I hope this problem also will be solved.
Will be solved at some stage.
We are in the fourth cycle of NAC re-accreditation, and in case if we get a A++ score, this will be solved.
I'm sure you will get it, sir. Best of luck.
Thank you, thank you.
Lele साहब, आप तो बहुत कुछ वैसे भी करते हो. आप pioneer हो in the sense I'm sure you're teaching a lot of young kids. What else do you think?
We take it as an institutional activity because each one of us faces a shortage of manpower. We need juniors. So in colleges we had the valuation subject, but I forgot that we had a valuation subject by the passage of time. So what was required is for the engineering students, we took up the pilot project for civil engineering civil engineering colleges, 30 hours training project. So we gave 30 hours training, every weekend 3 hours. So 10 weeks we had a program of teaching in engineering colleges, and we introduced them the valuation. So the importance of this subject should come up, and they should know that this is also a
a
field
career
where
for
we
people.
can get something. Now, with the help of Vinay ji and IOV and Tyagarajan sir, we have developed another model which will be common in all colleges. That is, we have bridged it in for land and building, plant and machinery, and financial assets, also legal aspects.
Correct.
So any college where the graduation courses are on, they can take up this model.
This is
It's also 30 hours
This is a
model.
fantastic model, and I was very impressed with this when I heard it for the first time. And I think each one of you in the room, in your limited capacity, all the branches, all the people who are in the various cities can really contribute as coming and faculty teaching with the young kids and giving some hours, like Mr. Lele gives almost all his hours to this. I think some of you can, say at least I will give 1 hour or 2 hours every week, and I think that will make the profession much better. Thank you. Vivek, I'll come to you the last. The chairman speaks to the last, and therefore Vandana, what is it that you would do to sort of make sure that you don't face the kind of people that you have now?
Since past few years, we are being given training to the students. As a part of curriculum, they need training for 2 months, 3 months, summer trainings. We are giving them training. It is honorary. And I'm very happy to announce here that few of those students have joined valuation field. Valuation
Wonderful.
as their career. Few are working with the financial institutions too. And as an entrepreneur, I am giving experience, I am recruiting people. So as it is contributing to the giving experience to the budding valuers.
Ma'am, you've anyway contributed a lot, but what do you think can up the, interest in the profession?
The first thing is to give a taste of what is valuation and what are the prospects for this career to town planners, because town planners is a big community.
Right.
And I think across various states, they already have the basics of land and building. If they can be introduced this, and I've been trying with the Institution of Town Planners, India. And there's also a review of planning syllabus which is on with the AICTE. So I'll be meeting some of the committee members. So I think there is a kind of a broad agreement to introduce as a subject, as a topic, so that they get a taste of it. And then then some of them who would like to do an advanced course and a regular course in it, they can go for it. But I think this is the need of the hour that everyone agrees, because more public-private partnerships are coming. In the city also we are thinking of, large amounts of financial investments which are required. And the government lands are also coming into the markets as an equity. So we need to focus, as Mr. Lele rightly said, what are the, what would be the values of these properties and these projects, and are they financially viable? And so therefore, a new dimension is emerging. And I think
Thank you so much. I think we should all give applause to Neelima ma'am. She is one of the lone crusaders among, if I should be very open here, among a set of communists. So, you go to some of these architecture colleges, and there is this whole communist mindset that prevails there. And I think, it was people like her who kind of said, no, sorry, we need to change this. And then she continues to do that. And Vivek, what is your, let me not say panacea or remedy, but what's your thought process? How should you, I'm sure, did a roadmap, but now you heard the panel, you've been here. What do you think should be the roadmap? How should we take up this challenge for freshers as well as people who are practicing?
So, like I said, I am an export from here. So I understand the Indian markets. And I've been there and been in the US for so many years in the academic world and have the experience over there to see how rigorous the curriculum is. So I think like Mr. Nene has been talking about how it's a different market over here. We cannot take anything over from there and just put it over here because it would not work. Just like the McDonald's and the others, the Domino's, when they came to India, they brought the concept over here but adapted to the local taste and with all the different
Aloo tikki burger.
What's that?
Aloo tikki burger.
Aloo tikki burgers and all those, which are my favorite. So that same thing has to be implemented in terms of the curriculum, in terms of education here. You take the knowledge over there, take the theory, take the concept, take their experiences, and take an institute like Appraisal Institute and see if they're interested. And I will be happy to be that bridge between those two, these two countries in terms of education, and offer IOV my expertise, my help, my time, which I've been trying to do over these years, to see if we can come up with a model to educate the future appraisers and to make sure that the curriculum is embedded in the system, because we need to make sure these appraisers that come out are fully trained, but they also go through a system that is well placed, whether it be through an architectural school, whether it's through a business school, whether it's through any other universities, because real estate is very cross-disciplinary. So we need to make sure that we go out in the open to all, across all disciplines, and see which of them is interested, and then, that's the road ahead, basically.
Thank you. Thank you, panel. We are opening this now to the audience. Can we have some lights on and some mics in the audience? Please get up, introduce yourselves, and then address the question to a specific member in the panel. I see one gentleman in a colored shirt, a green or a yellow shirt. So can you give the mic? Mohit, you can take this on later. You're the number two in this. I just saw him.
Yeah.
Can that gentleman? So that's number one. Next is Mohit.
Thank you, Sunil, sir. Two quick comments and the...
First, introduce yourself.
Sure. Two quick comments, and the third one will be a bit large. Myself, Saurabh Suman. I have 11 years of experience in the field, and I belong to Nainital. The first one, as Mr. Lele said, I also find it a bit difficult to understand that we are diluting the experience from 10 years to 5 years. The second one for the Mr. Sir from Annamalai University. I really don't know your name. I'm sorry for that.
Dr. Arul.
Dr. Arul. Sir, I think we need to first of all solve out aspects related to affiliation, recognition, and things like that, and then get into courses. And the third one, which was my most primary. I'm sorry.
Just keep it a little short.
Yeah, sir. Since I and Sunil sir belong to the same alma mater, and Neelima madam here for the first time today talked about town planning, 60% of the market in valuation today. Sir, I'll take 1 minute. I'm sorry. I apologize.
1 minute is okay. Uske baad nahi.
60% of the market today in valuation belongs to engineering. Everybody addressed here, engineers. Some 20% or 25%, the next tier which comes is architecture. A few of them talked about. 15% of the 100%. People talk about backgrounds in MBA, real estate advisory coming into valuation. I am saddened to know, and this is from my 11 years of experience, nobody talks about the legitimate invitation card town planners have in valuation. Land value capture, compensation when infrastructure project land acquisition happens, and there was one more, land pooling and TP schemes. These are aspects in a valuation report which I doubt, myself being an architect at graduation or somebody else being an engineer at graduation, may not be completely honest. So let's bring town planning also to the main discourse, which somehow India is not doing as of now in valuation.
I think your point is well made, but I can tell you, sir, in the international property consultants, and a lot of my friends are here, the people who lead the valuation practice, and I have led valuation practice at Colliers and what is now JLL, they have been led by town planners. So town planners are at the forefront of valuation practice. With a little bit of Excel in their head, they can do wonders. Mohit, your turn.
My question to you, sir.
Introduce
Sunil, sir.
to everyone.
My name is Mohit Mehta. I represent Value Add Consultant. I'm from Mumbai. I did Masters of Valuation in Real Estate as well as MSc from Annamalai University in Plant and Machinery. I'm practicing valuer. So my question is related to your last comment that freshers should, if they are not allowed to sign, is it a good, and it's brought from...
I never said freshers not. I said people who have license must necessarily be an independent.
Correct.
They're not allowed to do a job.
So my question and suggestion and the comment regarding that, see, any profession has a concept of certificate of practice. If you are employed, if you are an employee, your registration to sign the report or practice as an independent professional, you have to surrender immediately. In Rule 16 of Company Act rules, there is a provision, if you accept employment, you have to surrender your registration to IBBI. Rule 8/12 of Wealth Tax.
No, so that rule is existing. The only thing, how fair is that rule?
And that's rule in every profession, even in town planner, in architects, in engineers, in
No,
chartered
not in
accountant.
architects.
Correct.
Not
It is
in
there.
architects.
It is there. In chartered accountant,
Not in architects.
it is there. Council of Architecture, if you are employed, you have to surrender your registration.
Not in architects, right? It's not there in architects, Mohit.
But in company secretary, chartered accountant, it is advocates,
Yeah, so all what I'm
doctors.
saying- no, you have this rule, but
Yeah.
don't you think a lot of chartered accountants still work for a firm? A lot of people still work for a law.
There is always
bar.
a two coin of side. There are corrupt people, there are honest people.
There are complicated people and there are simple people. We
Correct.
have
There is
we
always
have
a such
we have
kind
the
of people.
fortune of dealing with the most complicated people, which are called chartered accountants and lawyers.
Possible.
Courtesy, half the trouble in the world are caused by them.
Possible.
So let's not follow that system. Is one suggestion. You have a suggestion which says
So
we can follow
independence
that.
is required in profession. You cannot be employed at the time of practicing, right?
Okay, so that's your observation.
It's a law, not observation.
Okay.
It's a
So-
law.
Yeah, so fair enough. We all know that law. There was one gentleman that side. Yes. So
Good evening, everybody. This is Yogesh Chelawat from Indore. We have been talking about education and valuation here. There are 2 points. One is that how to educate our customers, that is lenders mainly. This is a big challenge. And another thing, what Mr. Shah is talking about, that in US, their education of valuation is sponsored by the industry. How to educate our industry to sponsor the real valuation field in India? Thank you.
whom do you want to answer?
Anybody who would like to answer the questions?
Who would want to take up? Lele sir?
Answer to first question regarding town planning.
Acha, wo wala question.
Land is a state subject, and every state is at a liberty to decide the rules of the game. What FSI to be given, how zoning is to be done. So, particularly town planning subject cannot be taught, because like in Annamalai syllabus, we had all Madras Town Planning Act. Because that syllabus was developed for basically Tamil Nadu. But every state has its own act. So as a all over India compilation, it's impossible to be done. But there are basic concepts in NBC, National Building Code. So such things can be taken up.
Can be evolved. To answer
Second
this gentleman's question.
was Mr. Mehta's topic. He can send his comments on indianvaluer@yahoo.com.
Yes.
And,
No, the gentleman asked ki how do we encourage industry to spend money. There are some names up there who spend money, we'll encourage more. And next time, Mr. Goyal, you should say that everybody should actually give a little more money to this cause.
Third thing, important aspect in valuation, behind every 10,000 population, we need one valuer. Likewise, in India, we need 130,000 valuers at least. And they should not be concentrated in metro.
Delhi, Mumbai,
They
Pune.
should be spread over all over India.
Sir, my name is...
So only 2,000 registered. So there is a lot of scope yet for valuers.
So your question was money. The other question was, sir?
Sir, first question was that how to educate our customers, that is the most probable
Okay, so
customers
let
are
me-
lender.
Let me answer that.
How to educate them so that they can understand the valuation report well, and they cannot discount our fees to the customer.
No, fees is a separate issue.
No, let me complete, sir.
Yeah. Now
How to educate our customer first. Second, how to get the sponsorship from the industry for the purpose of education in valuation.
Okay, so the second question I've answered, the first question I'll answer. I don't know, but I know a lot of people in the room who actually are writing policies for banks. I mean, our organization is writing the policy for Punjab National Housing Bank. We're writing policy for other banks as well. We are taking trainings for their team to understand what is it that they need to write in a valuation letter for a valuer. आज क्या होता है, वैल्यूएशन कर दो, खसरा प्रॉपर्टी है वो भी लिख दो, लीगल भी हम कर रहे हैं, सब कुछ कर रहे हैं, गलती हुई तो आपके ऊपर ही. So valuation is loaded with a lot of responsibility for which you're not actually even responsible. पिचैया साहब कहेंगे कि identification. So there are efforts being made. How to reach out? You have to go and tell them that yes, we are here to help you. We are partners, and some will listen, some will not listen. Let's not have. We'll take that question offline. There's
Sir,
one more gentleman in the
Hello.
center.
Sir, yes,
There's one more gentleman in the center. Please give
sir.
the mic. And this is the last
Vivek
question.
sir.
No, I am there.
Vivek sir.
We'll-
Vivek sir, it's my turn actually.
No, it is the gentleman's in the. He's standing there in the center. Please give him a mic. And this is the last question. We've really run out of
I've
time.
been waiting for some more time.
अच्छा तो आप एक question पूछिए.
My name is AVM.
Automated valuation model.
Yes.
Okay.
As an entrepreneur, actually 20 years back, I tried these softwares with a database. Before the cloud came, so I could not adapt to the cloud because of financial constraints. It's an excellent thing that we adapt to the technology. Actually, Value should see that technology not only in filling up the reports as such. For example, I'll tell you. So in Karnataka state government introduced technology, example of this technology, the app called Dishank. So it made the life of the valuers so easy that where exactly the survey number passes to the property it's shown. Likewise, we have to see the technology in all overall aspects.
Correct.
And
so technology is a good thing, not
yes,
necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, no, we have to look at it in a broader perspective. And one more thing, sir, one more thing.
Is it a comment or a question?
No question. No, that
Question
suggestion. Suggestion. Like as in India presently, we could not mix up the things like all the models to be one. They should be presently later they can change it over. But as the global other countries, they say the values is a different profession, practices all plant and machinery, land and building, financial assets. But the Indian scenario is concerned, you should be asset based only. It should be asset based, and we should focus on that. Time being, it should be asset based. If the land and building valuer is there,
you made your point. Yes, we will get there. Last question, and then we'll take all the other questions outside on the panel. We are all available here, so let's not. Last question, sir, from you.
My name is Ashok Goyal. I am a land and building valuer. I am doing Master of Real Estate Valuation from Annamalai University. My question is from Dr. Arul. Annamalai University is offering master degree in valuation, which is a distance education program. This program is not recognized by IBBI as per valuation rule. What are you doing for this recognition of this program?
Sir, actually, we are ready to offer full-time program, but how many of you will come and study full-time, sacrificing your practice and present job? But that is the reason that we are offering a distance program. But
this is the...
just,
let him answer. Goyal sahab, aapne question pooch le, let him answer. The fight is on, and I think the fight must be there because, there are a lot of... So let him answer. Thanks.
See, maybe we are also ready to represent to both IOV and IBBI that for experienced people, this can be relaxed and exempted. Those who have got some 10 to 20 years of experience with this degree, they may be exempted. Whereas if a new person is coming and studying this course without any experience, it should be a full-time course. That can be considered.
That's good.
Fantastic. I think I'll thank on behalf of everyone, the panel. It's been a great panel. I think the fact that you all are still around in the hall and not going to your Sufi cars or Sufi dinners is still because I think the panel is fantastic. Thank you, Vivek. Thank you, Vandana. Thank you, Neelima ma'am. Thanks, Nitin, Lele Sahab, and thanks, Arul. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much, Sunil sir. It was indeed an awesome panel discussion. Now it is the time for the felicitation, and to do the honor, I would request Mr. Sandeep Kumar Dev to be on the stage and felicitate our keynote speaker and chairman of the session, Dr. Vivek Shah. Instead of Mr. Dev, I would request Tyagarajan sir to be here on the stage to felicitate our keynote speaker and chairman of the session, Dr. Vivek Shah. Gentlemen, I would request everyone to please be seated. There are a few more announcements to make. अगर आप इतना जल्दी करेंगे तो बहुत कुछ रह जाएगा. तो please be seated, have patience. आप यहाँ पर आए हैं, 2 दिन हमें दिया है तो पूरा पूरा दे दीजिए. आधा उधर आधा इधर मुश्किल हो जाएगा. Thank you very much. Now I would request Dr. Vivek Shah, the keynote speaker and the chairman of the session, to felicitate the panelists for the panel discussion today, Education and Valuation, Paradigm Shift. Mrs. Vandana S. Agarwal. Gentlemen, we are going to be starting the Sufi night in some times, but before that, let me give you an information. You have been given a tag that you're wearing on your shoulder. I would request everyone to wear it or keep wearing it anywhere you go. I mean, if you're having your wife also along with you, please wear it with her also as well. That is the reason we have given you, so that we understand that, you being a part of this particular global summit. So I would request everyone, anywhere you go, please wear it and roam around. Then nobody will be able to, discriminate. And another information, tomorrow we have a day session, of course, which will be starting exactly at around 10 o'clock. Please make sure that you wear your ID tags as well. You bring it with yourself, wear it, whatever you want to do, but then keep it with yourself all the time. Another thing, the Sufi band, which is coming in sometimes, the Sufi evening is specially organized for all you fine people, and I'm sure you will enjoy this evening, because this evening will give you a different kind of feeling, and it will be a kind of heavenly adobe. So I would request everyone to join in sometimes. But before closing this wonderful day, I would request everyone to, because you had a very hectic day and hectic sessions, I would request you to relax and enjoy the Sufi evening that we have organized for you. Before closing, I just want to say a few lines and saying bye for now. When things go wrong, as they sometime will, when the roads you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the dates are high, and you want to smile, but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit. Gentlemen, the kind of thought-provoking ideas and the leadership qualities that you have, you keep on motivating us. Please be the way, stay positive, and keep motivating us. And on that note, I'll see you in some times with the Sufi evening. Thank you, enjoy your evening, and see you soon. Ladies and gentlemen, another thing, exactly at 7:15 we'll be starting the Sufi evening. And along with that, we have some very special interactivity sessions where I personally will come to you and interact. So please be present there exactly at 7:15. Thank you and enjoy your evening.